Hey beloveds, how y'all doing? How everybody doing today? So, got a couple things I want to talk about. Phoenix got some things you want to talk about. How y'all doing? Let's start with that. Hope everybody's doing all right. So I want to discuss a few things. Namely, legal maxims. I want to talk about legal maxims, and I want to talk about bad business and good business, right? Because we have not been taught basic principles of business, so therefore it ends up being a lot of things that we don't understand, and we end up suffering, and we have suffered in the past for, some of these things. So I'm going to just start with some simple legal maxims and the importance that they play in what's law. I'm not talking about codes and statutes and stuff like that, because codes and statutes are not law. It's not the same thing. So I want to just start, basically, I'm going to read what some of the importance of maxims in law are. And they may work for you in certain instances to help you stay true to the common law, right? Because it's, as long as it's not repugnant to the Constitution, it's usually something that you should be utilizing. So maxim, according to Bouvier Law's Dictionary of 1856, is an established principle or proposition, a principle of law universally admitted as being just and consonant without reason. Halito, beloveds. So that's what a legal maxim is. Something that has been said for so long, it becomes, absolutely something that is applied for a particular reason to maintain some sort of level of decorum, right? So, number two, maxims in law are somewhat like axioms in geometry. They are principles and authorities and part of the general customs and common law of the land. Okay? There's some strength through acts of parliament or legislative when judges have determined what is a maxim, which belongs to the judges and not the jury. Maxims of the law are holden for law, and all other cases that may be applied to them shall be taken for granted. So the application of a maxim must go before the court, and that usually ends up being very difficult, and that ends up being difficult because usually we have given consent to someone else to represent us. So in that instance, Chimachuk, Ma Marvin. So in that instance, we have chosen someone who is the agent of the court to represent us. So if your lawyer is there to represent you, he's going to go and snitch to the prosecutor. And when he snitches to the prosecutor, who ends up becoming injured, right? So how can he be your friend if he's an agent of the court? I'm not saying he's a bad person, but he's doing his job. And his job it is not fully disclosed. Let's just say that. And perhaps it is, but we just don't know where to look because we are used to people doing things for us instead of us handling our own affairs, right? The alterations of any of the maxims of the common law tend to be very dangerous. Now, the reason why they tend to be dangerous because you are going off into an area that is unfamiliar, and it's probably sharks in that water, It's probably some sharks in that water, and you want to stay out of it, right? You want to stay on solid ground is the optimum way to, you know, contribute to you being able to navigate. All right. Maxim, so called because its value is the highest and its authority the most reliable, and because it is accepted by all persons of the very highest. Okay, so these legal maxims are applied in Bangladesh. They are absolutely going to be applied in Italy. They're going to be applied universally. Every system, I don't care what language it is that they are speaking, these legal maxims are completely familiar customs throughout the world, and it doesn't matter who you are. Or where you are, should I say. It doesn't matter what continent. It's not exclusive to any continent or anything of that sort. Okay. So a maxim defined by Black's Law Dictionary. And this is going to be the 1933 edition, page 1171. Maxim of Law. This is the third edition of Black's. And it says, an established principle of proposition, a principle of law universally admitted as being a correct statement of the law or as agreeable for reason to reason. Koch defines a maxim to be a conclusion of reason. Koch on Littleton, and that's going to be 11A. He says in another place, a maxim is a proposition to be of all men confessed and granted without proof, argument, or discourse. So I'm going to, let's see. I want to give you the Latin term, because they'll say this shit and you don't know what you're talking about. And people be in court and they be like, do you understand Phoenix Moon? And you sitting there shaking your shit like a fucking bobblehead. Like, this shit just, you just be doing that shit. And you end up in the motherfucking clink, clink, clink. Right? Let me see. So I'm going to read out of Harvard Law Library some of these maxims to you. And it's so funny because these maxims are like little cliches and one-liners that you may have heard from some of your elders. Like our elders are constantly, they constantly used to provide us with, I don't want to say one-liners, but, they provided you with things that made you think in order to understand what it was that they meant. For instance, like something and it may not make sense, but at the same time, it provokes thought. It's very provocative. And our people, our ancestors were very, very witty, and they were very good at that. If you come in the kitchen and as a little kid, I would go check in and I just would go straight in the kitchen because I'd smell the food that, my grandmother was cooking from outside. And I would be like, Grandma, what are you cooking? And she'd say something like, "Lyrics catch meddlers." In other words, like, mind your business. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, mind your business sometimes. But those are things that didn't have to be explained, but they were completely understood, right? It was just a wonderful way of communicating that the elders had with us with very few words. In my family, we describe my grandmother as a quiet thunder because, she walks off and carry a big stick. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a complete insider in my family, but I know it goes on in other Aboriginal families as well. So let me find some good maxims for you. Let me see. Okay. So going back to being acquiesce. Okay. So I'm going to give you the legal maxim, and then I want to give you a little bit of background around it and give you one of the keywords that you need to know why it's important. So the first one is called Audi, alteram, partem. Okay. And that's 3 words. And it's spelled AUDIALTERAM Okay. Audi alteram partem. Now, Latin is bullshit. It ain't nobody's preferable language, but this is the shit that we didn't know, and this is the shit that been casting them Harry Potter spells, and why you motherfuckers can't find out who you is, who you with, and all that shit. So the meaning of that is, it means no man can be condemned unheard. And I want you to take a second to think about that. No man can be condemned unheard. So, if I accuse you of something and you don't say anything, it's the same as being guilty, because you are leaving me no choice but to speculate that you cannot rebut any presumption that I'm making. So that means that you have something to hide, certainly, and lawfully you may be culpable for some sort of damages as a result of that, because that can absolutely cause some sort of injury to me, right? If you don't say anything, no man can be condemned unheard. So if you are being accused of something and they are saying that you have done something, you certainly have a right to face your accusers, but also, not only that, you want to make sure they really talking to you, because they could be making some shit up. And if you don't say anything, hey, you stole such and such and such and such and such and such. And if you just like, oh, I don't know, they just want to find me guilty anyway, I don't know, just, I ain't steal nothing. You're telling your lawyer all this shit. And your lawyer's going to go over there to that prosecutor and be like, this motherfucker stole the shit. Why don't you, he's never been in trouble before. He's a good kid, I think. He's good piece of shit out of all the other pieces of shit, maybe. And we're just going to go a little easy on him or something like that. Shit like that. That's what happens, right? So you definitely don't want to acquiesce. So again, that legal maxim, it means no man can be condemned unheard. So if somebody calls you, if a motherfucker call you black and you don't say, no, I'm not, guess what? You can't prove that you are, because you said nothing. That means that it's going to stick, and it ends up being what happens, right? So now that is by your acquiescence, and that's a word that needs to, people need to be acquainted with. And acquiescence is about contracts. And it's the consent which is impliedly given by one or both parties. This is how a lot of people ended up in slavery. This is how a lot of people ended up in debt. This is how a lot of people end up with lengthy prison sentences for breaking codes, perhaps, maybe breaking violations, but really not committing felonious, what is considered, should be to be considered a crime. Now, what they have done on the public side is said that all crimes are commercial. And that includes burglary, kidnapping, and a host of other things. And that's going to be Section 27, U.S. Code 27. I think it's 7211. Okay? And that's going to be regarding what they're saying is considered a crime. But you have to rebut the presumption, because there has to be what's called, let me write this down because I want to come back to this word, prima facie evidence. And I'll even talk about what that is a little bit. But the acquiescence is is definitely a determining factor of how you get dealt with, because you don't say anything. If you don't open your mouth, if you say, no, I am not a thief, no, I am not these things, no, that never occurred, and if you don't honorably make some sort of non-belligerent presentment, right, of your natural self, then you're going to have ends up being some serious legal issues. So again, acquiescence is going to be the consent which is impliedly given by one or both parties. So chattel slavery was regarding real estate, okay, real property. They basically mortgaged human capital, okay. I'm gonna save that, because I'm gonna give what the definition of that is, so it'll be a little clear as to why this was really business. It wasn't so much because white people hate black people and all that other shit. They fucking enslaved their own goddamn British and stuff like that, and they like to lightly reconstruct it as indentured servitude, but them motherfuckers was running away, right? They was running the fuck away, and they wanted to get out of it. So explain to me how, if it was indentured servitude, how some of your Scottish, English, German, French, and British servants, in so-called indentured servants, were running away. What the fuck were they running from? If you know that you kicked somebody's ass, or you killed somebody, or stole a fucking cow, or did whatever something, or maybe you did nothing and you just simply got convicted, because it's a lot of fucking people that go to prison or go to jail and they didn't do anything at all, but it's just, sometimes just the way the ball bounces, and a lot of times it's really on a voluntary basis. So now here you have a group of people that have been unable to handle their commercial affairs. So if debt was a crime and they would take you to the fucking dungeon because you couldn't pay for that sack of potatoes, your ass would go to jail. So this is something that they did. Now you got to factor in, when people talk all this slavery shit, you have to factor in the fact that there were fucking criminals and there were fucking prisoners, okay? If somebody breaks in your house and starts stealing your shit and fucking up your children, right, and disrupting stuff and all of that, somebody has to pay for that. So that person is now responsible. So do we not think that there were no fucking prisons at all? After slavery happened, they just started building jails, because all of a sudden people were just so fucking traumatized that there were no killers, there were no fucking thieves, there were no rapists, there were no any fucking thing horrible that absolutely deserves to be inside of a fucking prison. Because we not gonna act like there ain't some fucking reasons and some motherfuckers that ain't supposed to be in that motherfucker, because they are. If you are not down for taking some of these fucked up, heinous, violent motherfuckers, if you are not down for, burying the motherfuckers up to their neck in dirt and sand and letting everybody throw stones at them that they fucking violated, unless you want to get medieval on these motherfuckers, you gotta have some sort of establishment for control and correction of some of these motherfuckers. Now let's just keep that real. Not everybody belongs there, but certainly there are some absolute motherfuckers that do. They safer there, and so are we. So now this is the part where I mean by slavery, right? And I don't want you to just get back on the fucking boat and think that, the whole Kunta Kinte, get off the fucking boat, don't get on the boat. Just stay right here with me, right? Don't get on the boat and go over there again. Stay here. Stay home. When a party is bound to elect between a paramount right and a testimony disposition, his acquiescence in a state of things which indicates an election. So if you don't say anything and you are being told that you are real property, you have been engaged in some sort of contract, whether it be orally, whether it just be simply that you acquiesced and you never said no and you never disagreed to it. Okay, so again, I'll use the example of me asking somebody if I can throw a party at their house. And they say, sure, and you could throw a party at my house, Now I give them a proposition, and maybe I'll pay $250 to have a party at your house. And you let me have this party, and then I show up Friday. It's a smash. Everything turns out well. And then the next Friday I show up, and I say, hey, we're here. And they're like, oh, Phoenix is throwing a party. We've been invited. You're like, wait a minute. I never said that it was okay for you to throw another party, but you never said that we couldn't. So maybe I am a little dirty for not explaining it to you, but maybe you're a little naive for not giving explicit details. Okay? It has to be a bilateral contract in order for it to be understood. So if again, now I'm telling you that I want to throw a party in your house, and you're telling me I let you throw a party at my house last week, and I'm like, so what? I said I want to throw a party at your house. I didn't say how many. I didn't say for how long. I never told you how long they would last. I never told you what I need you to do at my party. I never told you that you didn't have to provide Kool-Aid. So now that I'm charging your ass for Kool-Aid, you better get me some fucking Kool-Aid. Fucked up. But that's a contract. And because you backed out of it, and by either engaging in oral conversation, which is binding, or perhaps a handshake that's also binding, you have now locked yourself in. And if your ass can't pay, and your wife can't pay, you and your kids gonna pay. And that is how the system of slavery went. Now, if you don't know somebody's language, you should not do business with them. If they're not talking the shit you know about, it's not worth doing business with them. You know, speaking my language, we don't do no business, right? And we were unable to do business properly because we were disadvantaged by not knowing how to conduct the business. See, the business of the Indian was really to just be fucking chill and relax and let these other people get our bread and shit, right? Because that's what they're for. It's a company. We hired them. They subcontractors, right? And they are there in place as trustees, okay? They hold our trust, okay? And we are supposed to be the fucking beneficiaries. They are supposed to service us, and what's ended up happening is we have just ended up being served. So again, the acts of acquiescence, which constitute an implied election. So they have no choice. If you don't make it fucking clear what it is, they have no choice but to think that you consented to whatever it is that they wanted you to do, and that you entered into this knowingly, right? It's only implied, and they have the right to do that. So that's not something that you could truly be upset about. So now that constitutes as an implied election must be decided rather by the circumstances of each case than by any general principle. 4, acquiescence in the acts of an agent, all right, or one who has assumed that character. That is where I'm going to pause at. And give me 1 second. I'm going to pause that right there, and then I'm going to let that marinate, because I'm going to have to read that shit again. That's very important. So what happened was these so-called masters ended up being the executors over your real estate, your body, right? It's the same thing like personal estate, just like your house goes into an estate, right? There's some sort of trust involved, right? So now, again, I'm going to read that again. So this is how they acquired the right, okay, by law. So when they tell you, oh, it was laws that made slavery legal, hold up. But do you know what makes you a slave? They never taught you what makes you a slave. Not because you are a particular color. They did it to their own people. I'm not saying it was a great system, but I'm telling you we didn't understand the system. So this is why it seems so retarded. But at the same time, because we were so ignorant and naive, that we kind of bought this shit on ourselves, right? But they haven't changed anything much, okay, with the exception of some other things that help us as Aborigines, and but at the same time, none of these things have changed to where, excuse me, y'all, none of these things have changed to where it's not the same shit that they was doing years ago. You understand? So again, now it says acquiescence in the acts of an agent or one who has assumed that character will be equivalent to an express authority. Acquiescence differs from assent. So now I'm going to go to the word assent. Hey, Marty. So the word assent is the opposite of acquiescence. So that means you are probably more than likely rebutting the presumption. And this is what the opposite was. So this is how people were able to obtain their fucking freedom, because they took control of their straw. They took control of their shit. Assent is also a part of contracts. And assent is an agreement to something that has been done before. It is either expressed, where it's openly declared, right? I make the decision. When it's expressed, I, the natural person, the natural woman, not person, the natural woman is expressing that no, this shit ain't gonna fucking go down. Implied is when I pass the buck and I give it to a lawyer because I'm too lazy to speak for my own self. So he has to speak for my corporate entity now, right? A dead corporation. He's talking to a fucking ghost, okay? So being that he's speaking on behalf of a fucking punk, somebody that can't speak for themselves, he gonna walk his ass on over there to the prosecutor. And then that gives the prosecutor the right to pretend to be the sound alter ego of your moral compass and good judgment, so that you can be presented against the state, who's a fucking imaginary, right? Who the fuck is the state? And then you end up getting slam dunked upside your head. And meanwhile, the only thing the judge got to do at that point is just sit there and, maybe try and get you to plea and stuff like that and all that other shit. And that shit ain't even fucking necessary. So now, an agreement to something that has been done before, it is either expressed where it is openly declared that when I say, you're going to come to my farm, you're going to work for me for 10 days, and I'm going to pay you $500. After that 10 days, if you'd like to come back and work for me, you can bring 2 members of your family with you, and I will pay you $5 for each 10 days of work that you perform. That is a contract where you either agree to it or not. And that's something that gives you more detail as to what it is that you're doing, right? And because we weren't fortunate to have access to this information, we suffered for it. Okay? So even when you find your ancestors and you see they are in certain situations where they are enslaved, or what you may think to be enslaved, don't think that they would just get their ass whipped. They was on the fucking money down there. So you best believe they was taking good regard to who was making all their fucking money. Okay? And they had to come up and create all of these ways to get us off the land. So when they stupefied us with these fucking laws, we didn't stand a goddamn chance. Now, in your downtime, before I finish that, in your downtime, there is, I don't remember, I want to say it's the New York Daily News or the New York Post. It may not even be one of them. Don't take me seriously. But I want you to look up how many years that, the caption, look up how many years has the America or the United States been at war since the Declaration of Independence. What you're going to find, you're probably going to find several sources, and they're pretty much going to say all the same thing. But what I want you to pay attention to, after you look at maybe 3 to 4 articles, maybe just articles or thesis or dissertations or something like that, preferably from a EDU, an educational higher learning facility or the actual congressional record or something like that. You want to stick to these kind of primary sources and stuff. But I want you to look up how many years since the Declaration of Independence the United States has been at war. What you're going to find in common with all of the articles, without a doubt, what you're going to find is that all of these wars that were on domestic soil from the fucking 1600s up until, I want to say, World War One was all with Indians. So how can they maintain making motherfuckers walk this goddamn Trail of Tears, right? Then at the same time they maintaining this chattel slavery system going on. Then they sending people on a gold rush to go west. You know, I just want to talk about some of these timelines. They had to really make everything appear like one great big fucking ball of a slave of a story, when really there are a significant amount of intricacies and a significant amount of evidence that proves that this is a sack of bullshit. So once you are able to establish a firm timeline, it then gives you the opportunity, or the sound reasoning rather, to be able to deduce information in order to get the absolute fact, right? Because there's some things that have to be completely eliminated because you know that not to be a fact. So if they're saying that everybody was slaves, and you find, even if you find one grandparent that was free from, that you know of, at least from 1790 to 1865, right? So if you know them to be free, does that mean everybody was slaves? No, the fuck it doesn't, right? You see that your great-great-great-great-grandparents was married. They had marriage certificates. They married other people of their own brand, right? In some instances, because in all instances, get the fuck out of here. I'm not even gonna go through that, because you couldn't even marry. And when you look at mulatto, you need to get it out your mind. That's a Negro and an Indian, right? Because when another Indian from Jamaica or the Caribbean or Haiti comes to stateside or to any of the other Americas, they are entered in as Negro, right? But when an American Indian goes to Jamaica, they were entered in as Negro, and the Jamaicans end up being the Indians. Don't let them fucking fool you, right? So mulatto had nothing to do with no fucking black and white. Now, the only instance that could possibly have been would been someone that was a slave, right? Because their status was black. Doesn't mean that their skin was. You got Irish people, and we know Irish people, they have, at one point, you could tell they must have definitely looked like us. Now, that's not something that, you know, it ain't something I could prove, but it ain't something that I could deny, especially considering you have a significant amount of evidence that there was some brown folks over there before everybody. And what we're not going to do is act like that shit never happened. Now, who they are, that's all subject under fucking scrutiny, though. Now, we can get to that, but we can't. Oh, wow. Do they do that, too? Do they interrupt YouTube now also? Ooh, y'all. They just cut my shit off. It's a brand new device, so I know nothing's wrong with that. Here they go. That shit again. Talking that shit. So it would seem incongruous and absurd that when a conveyance is completely executed on the part of the grantor, the estate should continue in him. So this is how the master was able to transfer certain family members, because the debt was not cleared off. Now, whether or not the debt was even accurate or not, and then in some cases, don't forget, motherfuckers got kidnapped and they got thrown into the shit, and being that they had no way to rebut any presumption or prove their way out, they ended up, some of them being 12 years a slave, right? And they had people that look like you, and I'm going to say that these were people under commission to scout you and to make sure that you return. So when you think of this Underground Railroad, You got to give some fucking regard to the goddamn details of that stupid shit. You got somebody that you just stole from some obscure African fucking nation. Harriet Tubman. She always been on this fucking plantation. And how the fuck she know how to run away on foot, right? You can run away on foot and get from Dorchester, Maryland, all the way to fucking Auburn, New York, on goddamn foot in 1849. And then come back and rescue your brothers on Christmas Eve, pull that off. And then you bought a house and came back and got your motherfucking parents, your old ass parents at this point, and they've been slaves. So in your mind, you should assume that these people been broke the fuck down, because old age to them could have been at 40, considering the way some of these people minds think that our people had it so hard, which is to the fucking contrary. Peace and love. You know, which is absolutely to the fucking contrary. Our people used to live to 100, 105. They lived so motherfucking long, they forgot how motherfucking old they was. They ain't had no goddamn birthday. They didn't been up talking about, I done been up 50,000 moons, and they mean that shit, right? And you don't know what the fuck. So, anyway, these legal maxims, they are just a way of you understanding basic principles in law, and they're going to remind you of cliches that your big mama, you know, or you may have heard over the course of your lifetime. Maybe not these specific Latin maxims, but they are there in place, again, to provide you a basis of how to understand the philosophy of jurisprudence. So the next legal maximum I'm going to give you is Volenti non fit injuria. VOLENTI. Next word is NONFIT. 2 words, right? Injuria. INJURIA. That means no injury is done to someone who has consented. It is a voluntary assumption of risk. So, just because, you know, I had an argument with my significant other, does it mean that I'm not going to come home? Does it mean that I'm going to let the whole house fall of shit because, you know, I got some shit on my mind? So basically, and I still think that, you know, when I come in the house, there's going to be some sort of flowers there, and I done created all this type of contention and stuff like that. Well, maybe he's going to be a little dismissive because I came in the house all nasty after we was arguing and shit. So it was wrong for me to speculate and wrong for him to think that I wasn't going to perform my obligation. So basically, I can't complain, especially if I caused the injury to myself by coming in from a situation that could have been handled differently. And I just, you know, walked right into an injury on purpose. I walked into my own brick wall. I didn't have to come in like that, you know. So, let me see if I could get a couple more. Oh, this is a good one. So, nemo debit esse judex in propria causa. Nemo, like the fish. Debet, DEBET ESSE JUDEX in propria causa. No man can be a judge in his own cause. So if you eat a whole tray of fucking cookies, right? And then you see that your stomach's starting to get a little pudgy, a little chubby. Maybe you're getting a little double chin. And, you know, you decide that it's okay. And you violated that. And the reason why you decide that it's okay is like you talk about, you just ate a whole pan of fucking cookies and you talk about how fat they make you. Right? You can't complain about the fat because you just ate a whole fucking tray of cookies. So it's like, you see how you kind of like, that's like trying to justify some silly shit in your mind when you can't be the judge of your own affair in that instance. You know you got a problem with cookies, motherfucker. Do you have a problem with cookies or do you have a problem with the love handles? You have to choose what it is exactly that you mean by that. West ipsa loquitur. Halito. And this one, RESIPSALOQITUR. And that means the thing speaks for itself. So that's like something that's understood doesn't have to be said, right? It seems that way, but you don't want to lean towards where it means that you are acquiescent. So when you use that, that's after like, it speaks for itself. Like, let's say you go to have a gallbladder surgery and they take out your motherfucking spleen, right? Dry bones. Hey, beloved. So you go to have a gallbladder surgery and these dumb motherfuckers take your spleen out and shit. Well, that would be res ispa loquitur. That means it doesn't have to be told. You don't have to tell a judge and jury, hey, these motherfuckers, they went in for a surgery and they ended up taking out my spleen. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't have to say anything. So that's something that doesn't have to be said at all. Give me one moment, y'all. Give me one moment. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on one second. Okay, can y'all hear me now? I think I did it. Can y'all hear me now? Huh? Okay, good. Okay. So again, that's like again, I don't know if it was, hi Lance. Oh, you can hear me now too. Okay, good. So that's something that speaks for itself. You don't have to go in there telling no judge, hey, look, this happened and they fucked up. It's something that's so obvious. It's a win-win thing. So now I want to go back to some of these words because these words are going to assist you in learning how to negotiate and not sign yourself up to be nobody's motherfucking slave, right? And now I'm going to I gave you acquiesce. I want you to know what debt is, right? The real meaning of debt, not these motherfuckers calling you up, on Sunday, talking about you owe them some 200 something fucking dollars for some shit. And You know, you don't know who the fuck these people are. You know, you got to stop answering to shit like that. If you got something with AT&T, who the fuck is Petroleum Industries to send you something regarding AT&T? Was they in the middle of y'all fucking handshake? Who's AT&T? God damn it, for a matter of fact, they think they fucking got you. No. The fault is on them. Because your services are fucking prepaid already. They couldn't do shit without your signature. They're not going to be in business. And guess what? What if everybody just stopped paying their fucking light bill? What's going to happen? Well, your motherfuckers be without lights, but that shit is going to close, right? But they're not going to be in any fucking debt because there is no debt. There is no debt. Now, this is very fucking lengthy. All right, but you know, I love you guys, and I'll do this shit ad nauseum just so you know it's real clear. If y'all hanging in there with me, I'll keep fucking going. Hi, thank you. I love you all. Y'all okay? That's a whole fact, Unity. You know, that's a whole fucking fact. See, when everybody gains control of their straw, see, it's funny that you say that. So when I look at, you know, the legal maxims, I look at them from what I learned from the Bible. I don't think about, you know, the sky opening up and all this other crazy shit happening. But what I do know is at the part in the end where everybody's saying Babylon fell and all the people were screaming, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. In my mind, that means everybody has controlled their straw and they became we the people again, right? Because it doesn't matter what country they are. When you read their constitution, they say they refer to the de facto and they refer to the de jure. So the constitution absolutely is always going to mean the de jure unless explicitly expressed otherwise. And then some people are very fucking expressed. Like I had to show these fucking Pan-Africans let me tell y'all about this funny shit. I had to show these damn Pan-Africans about the Ghana Constitution. And in the Ghana Constitution, this is how you know they full of shit and they ain't going no goddamn where. The Ghana Constitution specifically says that if your ass gives up your Ghana citizenship, you get in the fucking boot. So basically you're exiled. You can't get it back. Okay? So for all these expatriates that come over here and you want to be something else, don't you dare come over here talking about, oh, I'm African and I go back to Ghana because you gave up your citizenship. And Ghana Constitution says you get the fuck out of here. Now, they do offer dual citizenship to people, but your ass going to go over there and be an immigrant because you're not from there. And you're going to be an immigrant with an I, right? You're going to be both kind of immigrants because you're coming from somewhere else. You're going to be an immigrant with an E too because you're leaving your fucking country to go be somewhere else, right? And that's the same to be said from somebody that moves from Texas to New Jersey. They're leaving their country to go be somewhere else, right? That's exactly what it is. It don't seem that way because it's the United States. But you got to understand each state is a country, right? So, you say what country you from. Sometimes on these applications, they don't leave you any choice in the matter and you only see an option for the United States, right? So, with that being said, if you only see an option for the United States, then that means they're choosing your nation for you. And that puts you right in the pool where they can tell you what to do, right? So when it comes time for them to tell you what to do, you have to rebut that under the premise that they left you no choice, which is basically like a tyrannical position. It's no way out. That you're not able to be we the people. You the motherfucker subject, right? And that shit ain't cool. We don't want to be that. You definitely don't want to be that, right? So, again, you want to pay attention to that. Now, this word debt, I might just save that for the part 2 because that shit is real fucking lengthy. And again, although very pertinent, it's something that could wait a second because I think the most important thing is going to be the word contract. Because this is the whole jux of the matter. And a contract is a legally binding agreement involving 2 or more parties that sets forth an exchange of promises of what each party will or will not do. Let me stop right there. Because it's involving two or more parties that sets forth an exchange of promises of what each party will or will not do. So, unfortunately, some of our ancestors were unable to negotiate contracts and they ended up suffering. So now, back to me throwing that party. If I tell you I'm going to give you $250 because I want to throw a party at your house and you agree to it, we two have made an agreement that there's going to be parties thrown at your house, right? But I never tell you how many parties. I never tell you when the party's going to stop. I never tell you who's going to clean up. I never tell you who's going to pay for any damages incurred as a result of me having this party. I never make any of these things clear. So a proper contract contains the consent of a mutual agreement between two parties. So when your ass go running down the fucking DMV and say, hey, sign up, register, take my car, you can't get mad that they send their fucking cousins, the policy enforcers, out to come get you and pull you over on the side of the motherfucking road, right? Because you didn't know what was in that contract and you didn't reserve your rights. If you reserve your rights and they, they can't make you break the law, right? But it's breaking the law by them not telling you exactly what's going on. And you agree to some shit and it causes you injury, right? Because if anybody shits on your hood or fucking does something to you, you are entitled to a redress of grievance, right? Now, that can be, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. Oh, no, it has to be physical. Let me not say that. And what I mean by that is there has to be an injured party. Right? There has to be an injured party. Somebody has to say, that there's a crime committed. It has to be someone to face your accuser. There is no such thing as the whole state of New York mad at you because you ran a red light. Jersey, the whole state of Wisconsin is not fucking upset with you because you ran a red light. So that's something that you believe in your mind and you make it true. You make it true for the simple fact that you have not said anything in regards to the contrary. So therefore, you are making it true by your acquiescence, right? So now if someone actually gets on the stand and, let's say I punch Al Sharpton in the face. If Al Sharpton gets on the stand and says that I hit him, then there is some liability that I'm responsible for. So yeah, I have to fight my way out of that, right? Because there's an actual person that can say, me, she hurt me, I am, right? But now when you have some inanimate shit that is like, oh, she ran a red light. Now, as I go through whatever red light these motherfuckers are talking about, nobody was injured. I didn't run a red light and my vehicle slammed into another vehicle and I injured somebody and now, they fucked up in the game, right? That never happened. So how are you going to persecute me over some shit that never happened? Well, the only way that can occur is if I agree to it. Because for one, I think I broke the law. I don't really know for sure. And they didn't really have no proof that I did. But because I went in there half-cocked thinking that I'm going to answer to this because I don't want any trouble, now I've put myself in a position to where they won and I have contributed to my own demise instead of my own defense. Right? Instead of my own defense. Now I just injured myself. I helped them to having my ass in motherfucking handcuffs. Right? One time I was in a courtroom and no, this is my shit. I don't suggest you try this unless you know exactly. Well, y'all, I don't know if that cut off or not. It cut off on my end. I don't know if that cut off, but they starting this shit. But first of all, if your name's not defended, I don't know why you would sit in a seat that makes that so, because that makes it real, right? But what you should do is always put the shit on paper. You don't go in there saying a motherfucking thing because you don't know how to talk to them, right? So anything you say can and will be used against you. With that being said, you make all of your presentments on a piece of paper and you line up all of the facts. And the facts mean what? The facts unrebutted stands as law. So basically, if I tell them they held me unlawfully on the side of the road while violating my constitutional rights with this fucking bullshit driver's license shit. And then I present what the Supreme Court says regarding driver's license, so they know that I know what I'm talking about. My first opening line is going to be addressed. I'm going to make sure everybody's name that's going to be all the players in that motherfucker, that name going to be on there. It's going to be kind of like an RSVP, because they will issue you a warrant, which is basically an invitation that's kind of hard to fucking refuse, right? But how to make sure that that is not valid, there's a certain way you are supposed to move, right? To where they end up being quashed. And this does not apply to you violent motherfuckers. Now, I'm going to just tell y'all, there's so much of this shit that I'm kicking. But if you have a problem keeping your hands to yourself, and you're just pummeling people, and there's really no self-defense or logical reason, they're going to fuck you up. If it's violent, they're going to fuck you up. If you damage property, they're going to fuck you up. You fuck around with their coins and shit, they can fuck you up. Any fraud and conspiracy, they can fuck you up. But all that other shit, you making them think that this shit is okay to do. And you gotta stop that. Hey, Saul. Peace, beloved. So gotta stop letting these motherfuckers think that they the goddamn bossy. When they ask you a question, can I see your ID? And they say can, that's a fucking requires you to have a question mark at the end. Your fucking children to say, mommy, can I have some cookies? And you say, no, sit your ass down. You ain't getting no cookies now. You just had some, right? Can I? Can you step out of the car? Can you? Refusing is not resisting arrest if there's nothing for them to arrest you for. Driving without a license is not an arrestable offense. If you are told to get in fucking handcuffs, it's because you signed yourself up. You signed yourself up because you decided to pull out one of their fucking instruments, right? You pulled out one of their fucking instruments that got their little codes and shit on it. That say you got your slave number and it's attached to your slave number. So you can't be mad at the fucking results of that. It's just no way you could really, be upset with that. So again, you need to know what a contract is. And a contract is a legally binding agreement involving two or more parties that sets forth an exchange of promises of what each party will or will not do. A contract requires two competent parties to have a meeting of the minds where there is an offer by one party and acceptance of that offer by another party. The consideration, you want to write that shit down, the word consideration. Because some of these things, all you have to do is tell them that you may consider coming to another court appearance. You may consider. These are the proper terms in which you must disguise your defense in. Or, I don't want to say defense, because then that means you're defending. But these are the words that you are supposed to style your dialogue under in order to effectively have things move freely through motions without the court, right? Yeah, you never sign no goddamn traffic ticket. You never sign that. Because that means the slave took an instrument and you incriminating yourself. Because first of all, he got to prove who the fuck you are. He don't know you. He think he do. And being that he stole something that belonged to your ass that don't really belong to you, it belonged to them, and it made you subject to a criminal, who's the fucking guilty party? Damn sure ain't you. He took that shit, right? Only reason why the last officer got my motherfucking appellation because the bitch went in my pocketbook. And now you got to pay for that. You went in there and you went searching. I gave you an instrument. And what I gave you was a motherfucking library card. I don't give a fuck if it ain't got no picture on it. That's goddamn identification. It has my signature, right? And you're just mad because I don't have my face on it. And there's nobody named commissioner or somebody that fucking signed no shit that issued it back to me, right? It don't got nothing but the face of the library's name and my motherfucking signature. So really, that's kind of a no-end contract. Right? Because the library technically don't really exist. Don't really be sending me no motherfucking notes talking about the book late neither. Because technically I don't owe you no goddamn debt. Because there was nothing disclosing that. Right? But you still going to charge me. You can charge me 10 cents a motherfucking day. I'm going to order you. Because where did it say? If it doesn't tell me that if the book is late, they're going to charge me 5 cents every time, I don't want to hear it. There got to be some full disclosure. You got to start demanding that shit. So now the consideration for the mutual promises must be something of value. So in the case of a lot of our ancestors, it end up being their bodies as collateral. In some cases, their fucking children and wives as well too, right? Because we didn't understand contracts. And that shit ended up being a problem for us. Right? So now, the consideration for mutual promises must be something of value. The exchange can be goods or services and can be of virtually any amount, even very small. Most contracts that can be completed within 1 year can be oral as well as written. Exceptions exist. See statute of frauds, right? There again goes one of those exceptions, right? That require a contract to be in signed writing, such as those involving parcels of real estate, which happen to be your body, right? Because they was purchased in slaves, right? And we're going to get to what that word is, but a slave was actually real estate, real property. I ain't making this shit up. You know that this is what happened. There's no need to be fucking angry again because we know how to make it stop now. A suretyship agreement and others. Contracts require the essential terms of the agreement also to be stated in the offer, such as the price, time for performance, and any other essential terms and conditions. Well, you wasn't aware that your ass was going to be a slave from sun up to motherfucking sundown, right? You didn't know. You didn't have no fucking clue. You was going to be up from sun up to sundown. Right? So now, and maybe sometimes they didn't know either, but they figured it out once they realized that they signed a bad contract. And then in their mind, they realized they didn't want to renew shit. And then when they realized they couldn't live up to them expectations, the motherfuckers ran away. Right? You know? The motherfuckers ran away. And that's what? That's some criminal shit. Right? You pay somebody to come and do your motherfucking lawn. You taking care of them, right? It sound crazy. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Don't fucking make yourself the slave. Be on the outside looking in, right? Just be on the fucking outside looking in. You working up sun up to sundown and shit. You wasn't expecting all that, but that's just the fucking way it is. And you shook a hand with me. You said that you was going to bring you and your family over here and y'all going to work for me for X amount of time, for X amount of this, and I want this amount of shit. Now, you don't come through with that. You tired, and you being that you mad because you didn't do the right motherfucking thing. You didn't know what the fuck you was agreeing to. Now you fucked up, and you fucked your family up in your mind. You thinking you did something, right? But you know what the motherfucker going to do? He gonna run away from his responsibility. So what they do, they send a man to come fucking get you. Them fucking constables on patrol. They send them niggas to come get you and put you back in your motherfucking contract. Right? Because you done said yes or something. Right. Even if you didn't know what the fuck they was asking you. While they was still in the midst of their bullshit. Maybe they did kidnap you, and while they was kidnapping you, they was talking. Who boy is you? I was an Indian. You my nigga now. Say you my nigga. I'm your nigga, boss. And it was so. You let them motherfucking break your mind, and it became a fact. It wasn't really true when they said it, but inside your fucking mind, you believed it. And you took your fucking crown off, right? And you gave it to somebody else to try on. And they never gave it back. He never gave your crown back. And the nigga ain't really showed too much interest that he want his motherfucking crown back. I don't know near nigga that's gonna take his fitted hat off and they be like, yo, son, that's a nice hat. Let me see that hat. And be like, yo, here. And that motherfucker just try your hat on. You be like, nigga, get your own 7 1/4 or 7 3/8 or whatever the fuck size. It might be a snapback. But you ain't letting a motherfucker try your hat on. Why you let these motherfuckers foreigners come in your house and try your motherfucking shit on? He got your bathrobe on, nigga. He got your bathrobe on. What you gonna do about it? So, that's what a contract is. Okay? Now, let me just show you what chattel is so you can understand what I'm talking about. Chattel regarding property. A term which includes all kinds of property except the freehold or things which are parcel of it. It is a more extensive term than goods or effects. Debtors, debtors, debtors taken in execution, captives, apprentices. So it just named your fucking kidnapped motherfuckers. It named your apprentices or your so-called indentured servants, and the motherfuckers were slaves just the same. Bound by a fucking contract, right? That's correct, Jawbones. You ain't lying about that. They doing it because niggas is having it. So, apprentices are accounted chattels. So, shut up. Shout out to Serengeti Sherry. You know who you are. I ain't gonna tag your real motherfucking name, Riri. Okay, you acting like a Riri. She done waved that motherfucking white flag today. I'm gonna stop fucking with you. Let me stop. I'm coming for the 250s right now. But I was showing some posts regarding some of the Irish runaways and shit, and British and Scottish runaways, right? And these motherfuckers trying to tell me that indentured servitude and chattel slavery is two different motherfucking things. And I'm trying to explain that it's not. It was a specific system, but the only difference was that these motherfuckers came from another country already owing a debt. It just so happened that they chose to come over here and not be enslaved. Because it was either you can hang your ass on the galley because you fucking killed somebody over here in England and we don't like your fucking kind. You be singing that Catholic shit and you coming over here talking this St. Patrick Irish Protestant shit, and we don't do that here, right? We don't do that here in the BK. You gotta get the fuck from around with that. So they send these motherfuckers out the way. And now when they send them out the way, they owe a nut. You owe a lump. You got to come and pay that shit off. And for them to pay the shit off, require them to come over here and do what? Pick motherfucking cotton right next to the goddamn Indian. Right? Tyranny is tyranny, man. So this ain't have nothing to do with no feeling no extra compassion for no crackers. So I don't want to hear that shit. Because slavery is slavery and the shit is wrong. And this is what is in the heart of the Aborigine of America. We had enough love and enough room to put everybody on our bosom. So love is what we are actually made of. We are the soul people. This is why there's soul food, right? We are the soul people. We do things that come from our very core, our very being. Even when they say we wild, even when they say we're stupid, even when they say all these horrible things that they said, and they did those things to try and break us. But what is proven and what has absolutely been demonstrated is that they have not taken our soul. And that's why they mad. And till these motherfuckers can produce some of the amazing shit that we have produced. And I'm not saying other people didn't make their contributions, but ain't a motherfucker on the planet that do it like us. And that's the absolute fact. Not a motherfucker on the planet do it like us. And we just gotta get out of the habit of wanting to be like other people, right? But we're the fucking soul people. Ain't no goddamn doubt about that shit. So, back to shadow. Personal are such as belong immediately to the person of a man. I'm gonna bring that back. This is what fucking shadow was about, y'all. So y'all can stop, put all this other speculation in them goddamn kunta blanket stories to fucking bed and know how the shit really panned out the way it panned out, right? Chattel, property. A term which includes all kinds of property except the freehold or things which are parcel of it. It is a more extensive term than goods or effects. Debtors taken in execution. Captives. Captives of fucking shadow. Right? Apprentices. Your fucking indentured servants that you motherfuckers don't think is just a fancy word for slave. Are accounted chattels. So they too were fucking included as chattel property. So you Pan-Africans, you $2.50 motherfucking niggas, shut your motherfucking trap, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay? Tired of correcting y'all motherfuckers. Y'all just hard-headed like the fucking... Yeah, so they fucking around with the fuck around. You know, they fucking around with the fuck around. But now listen to this. So debtors taken in execution. So either you paid with your life, right? Because this is a debt. You paid with your life. Captives, your apprentices are accounted chattels. Chattels are personal or real. So this is why in the mind of the colonizer, he really thought that you were his property because technically you fucking were, right? The same way your mother could have been your property, but there was something orally or something that was registered that was presented that made your mother and perhaps the child a ward, right? A ward. Just tell whoever this is I'm calling back. So it made them be a ward. And if you are a ward, you don't have custody of yourself. You're fucking incapable in the eyes of the law, right? So personal are such as belong immediately to the person of a man. So you become a business, a company of the natural man, because the natural man knows he's not a fucking person. And that's the right hook, the elbow that they fucking had that you didn't know. The same thing a fucking person is now is what a person was before. And a person ain't what happens when me and you are talking, right? A person is a fucking corporation, and a corporation's a fucking person. That's it. So now this is what gives these motherfuckers the right to do it, because you broke the fucking law, because you did not say what needed to be said. And you go back to these cases with Sybil the Indian, they kept calling her, putting them under these Negro codes, right? The Code Noir, right? And under these Negro codes, but then there was some motherfuckers that was like, I'm an Indian. You out your mind. No, don't call me that, because I see what you do. And hold up. But that ain't what they... No, I'm from right the fuck here. They cut me off. It is doing that. I did see that. I thought it was just me. I didn't know. I didn't know that y'all saw it on y'all end, because it looked like it let me go right back into it. I was saying that you know, talking about chattel slavery and saying how they were able to control your body. They basically mortgaged you, right? And there was a bond placed. You became a bondwoman or a bondman, right? And let me explain what I mean by that. Why? By you becoming real property. Personal are such as belong immediately to the person of a man, the company of a man. So Chicken George was somebody's company. That was somebody's KFC that they opened. It was a 7-Eleven that they own. And they just happened to be open 24 hours. And now I'm going to pay taxes because I own a 7-Eleven and I'm going to get a return because now there's capital gains on my fucking company. You look at it as Chicken George, but Chicken George says he's a fucking person. A person ain't a man. A man can't stand on his own 2 feet. The man is going to sink and drown. He not going to swim on dry. Swim to shore. He ain't going to come back. He ain't going to come back. And it's cold out there. And then they freeze your assets and seize your property. So there was nothing they can do against slavery. You agreed to do some shit. Some of them, and these motherfuckers, this the shit that pissed me off. They won't fucking factor in prison for nothing. Do you think that they just made up rape like a couple of years ago after slavery? Where do you think they was locking these motherfuckers up? If they wanted to kick them out of Germany, out of France, out of every fucking where, and kick the Moors out of every fucking where, right? They wanted everybody, every last one of them out of Europe so they can go to Europe and then rule shit over here. Why didn't they just hold all of the motherfuckers captive over there and just utilize them? Why? Because they came over here and they went back and told them what they seen over here. And they thought it was just some hocus pocus because in their mind, according to, all documents regarding them, they was full of hocus pocus. They was full of a whole bunch of stuff that we wound up believing. And it looked like we done met somebody that looked like us and they knew more than we did. We thought because they was foreigners, they know what these motherfucking white people talking about. We could probably trust these people. Not knowing, again, they had no idea about intercatera. No idea about dumb diverses. Didn't have anything about these documents that were issued that concerning them and regarding all these so-called discoveries and these charted missions for these motherfuckers to come over here and deal with this type of shit. So, that's how that shit went. Let me see something. Hold on, y'all. This shit going down I could do. I'll be right back. Let's see. Let me go. So, now, that's what Chattel is. So, and it passed, like, personally to the executor of the owner. So, this is how they was able to be like, well, this motherfucking Toby owes me 20 more motherfucking years. So he probably going to be dead because I done worked his ass like a motherfucker. So that means Toby got to pay his debt some kind of way. So now that means his children end up being transferred over to me and mine until it's paid off. It sounds fucked up, but that's what it is. That was the premise of it. This is why it seemed. And the only reason why it wasn't lawful, wouldn't have been lawful, is if you fucking stood up and said, hell no, I don't know what you're talking about. But if you agreed to those things, then I guess those come with some really fucked up consequences, right? Some point you really just didn't have a choice. That's why they had to make it very clear inside of the Constitution that there would be no involuntary slavery, involuntary slavery, involuntary slavery, unless conviction of a felony. So when it is presented to you that people were slaves, you gotta wonder, did your great 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 granddaddy break a contract? You have to wonder if if they paid their debt, right? Those are things that have to be considered. It sound like bullshit, but this is what they did, and this is why it seems like, it was right. It was lawful, but it wasn't. It was just legal. And in the instance of them rebutting the presumption, it worked out well for them. There is a case of Sybil, I believe, Hutchins versus Wright. Read cases like that. Read about Indian Sybil. And I want to say that may have been either Henrico County or Norfolk County. This is back in, I want to say, late 1600s or early 1700s. And Sybil was known to be an Indian. So, and I'm going to say it probably had to be after 1740 and 1790 when they started these black codes. So they accused Sybil of being, that's right, Unity. They accused Sybil of being Negro, which means that perpetual slavery, right? And that could also mean for Irish people too, okay? And the reason why I say that, because again, they have disguised portions of Africa with Europe. They disconnected from North Africa and basically made themselves Americans and try to make your ass African. Can't be mad at these motherfuckers for being smart, right? You be mad for being dumb. That was our thing, and it's okay now. The shit is over. But So again, I'm gonna tell y'all, the slave trade ain't exactly what everybody fucking thinks it is, It's quite different, quite complex. Lots of different intricacies, that are sorry y'all, I'm sharing this right now. Lots of different intricacies that we need to understand in order to be able to dissect this shit, so that we know that it doesn't happen again, right? Because it's happening again in Libya, right? And you got Nigerians helping Libyans terrorize the fucking Cameroonians. Some sad shit. And this is happening in this day and age, and that's some fucked up shit. But we got our own problems, and not to sound cold or nothing, but we got shit we got to fix in Indian country before we can just keep being just the loving little peaches that we are here, right? Because we are some very loving people. We've welcomed a lot of people here, and they forgot how to treat us. We let people in our house, and they forgot to wipe their motherfucking feet off outside, right? So I also want to just touch on this before I leave the word chattel alone. Chattel mortgage, right? The chattel mortgage is when a mortgage is secured by a pledge of personal property. So I want you to look up what the mortgage is. And this is why they had to use all these fancy words, because that's a really stinky word. First of all, you know what a morgue is, right? What do they have in morgues? Dead people are in morgues, right? So because dead people are in morgues, what is a mortgage? It is a dead pledge, a dead contract. So initially, you didn't pay mortgages on your house. You had to pay a mortgage for your body. So when they say that people bought their fucking freedom, they are saying that they have put equity in whatever it was that they have used. So perhaps they were slaves and were commissioned for the cotton fields, but they invented something at the water pump to make sure that no one was dehydrated. So that saved manpower. Well, if you didn't get fucking paid, how the fuck can you buy your goddamn freedom? Was they stealing a fucking coin or two every time somebody dropped something? Did they find buried fucking treasure somewhere? How did they buy their shit? They had to put equity in them fucking selves. And this was a dead pledge that they made. And they mortgaged off their bodies. And they have pledged a surety, which is a bond. So a mortgage is a loan to purchase real estate where the borrower places the title to real estate as collateral, the security. The slaves became the security. You got to have some sort of insurance, something to make sure that this is sure. Right? So the lender can foreclose upon if the borrower does not pay back the loan in a timely fashion. Were slaves able to pay shit back? Nope, they just got their kids added on. They just got another 10 years added to their shit because the debt kept piling up with interest, and they was getting tricked and shit like that in these, fucked up contracts and stuff. So therefore, they had to put an end to it because it was fucking up the economy, right? It was fucking up the economy in a way that could have totally just tore shit up completely. That's right. That's right. I remember that. That was the revision of it. And then they wound up repealing it as well. Intercatera was more pertinent to the Indians, and Dum Diversus was Africa and Asia and all those other places where they wanted to seize all the dark-skinned people. So they are mortgages of lands, tenements, and hereditaments, or of goods and chateaus. So that's a nice way of saying that mortgages were of several kinds. So that means that slavery was mortgages. Like monopoly, how many fucking houses do you own? So however many slaves you had was the same as putting hotels up on your motherfucking block when you play a monopoly, right? So as they affect the title of the thing mortgage, they are legal and equitable, right? So once, that's how the slave was able to pay, because they wound up putting in so much equity into things, right? Depending on their performance and shit, I guess. Or what was in the contract that we don't know about. They just told us this fucking story and everybody just fucking went with it. But when you see your motherfucking folks before 1860 and you see your fucking folks 1850, 1840 and backwards, and they wasn't fucking slaves. If you see their motherfucking name in the census, nigga, they wasn't goddamn slaves. Well, who was they? Because you couldn't just live in no goddamn integrated goddamn neighborhood. You couldn't just do that. You living next door to people, you gotta know who was their neighbors, right? So, that's what a mortgage was. And I just want to put this really important caveat. Now, Number 4, it is a universal rule in equity that once a mortgage, always a mortgage. Every attempt, therefore, to defeat the equity of redemption must fail. You gotta check that out with the equity of redemption. This is why the fucking Bible and they tell you all this shit about redeeming yourself, right? Because if you forget who your mama is and you don't honor your mother and our forefather and you go conducting business with these motherfucking strangers and shit, you could lose your shit. You could lose your life. You could lose your freedom, right? Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you, beloved. You know, we're not, we gotta make sure we just take this shit seriously, man. These motherfuckers. And, a lot of us sit up in law school and we sit up there and talk this paralegal shit and all that. But the way that they dance around the shit, and it's the same fucking books, but because you have someone giving you a lecture, you in your mind automatically assume that they're telling you the motherfucking truth because you're in an institution of higher learning. And really what they want to see is that you can complete something, that you're not a child anymore. They will give you jobs if you have a fucking associate's degree in basket weaving and canning, right? If you could prove that after high school your ass could sit down and do something without being told what to do as a minor, right? Because when you are a minor, you are incapable of making decisions. So at the point where you reach the age of majority, you are supposed to be like the Jewish children, where they are able to control their straw and establish banking within themselves and put equity within themselves. And they are able to finance themselves in any endeavor for that, because that's something that they do. And they're very, very good at it. Other people do it as well, but I don't know who else perfected it quite so well, and that's the honest truth. And maybe everybody doesn't agree with what I'm saying in that perspective, but they've definitely danced fucking circles around a lot of us over the years. So it was something else that I wanted to how to be the real owner of the land. Okay, I got it. So the attention of the parties. Hold on 1 second, I just lost it. Let me see. Well, y'all, I'm sorry, I forgot what the hell. I had something. So I did mortgage. Stock. That's what it is. And surety. There you go. So now I'm going to tell you where the stocks and bonds come from regarding the Chattel property. I know that's right. We ain't no good reason. They paid a lot of money to make sure they took our mind off the land. I know that much. Now I want to tell you what stock means, right? It doesn't mean, just Wall Street transfer bonds and stuff like that. Stock is part of the law regarding descents, okay? This is why it was important for them to make sure that you forgot who the fuck you are. Now stock, even though, listen to how they phrase it. This is the legal dictionary that I'm looking out of. And then I'm going to go to the regular dictionary, and I'm going to read that too. So this is a metaphorical expression which designates in the genealogy of a family the person from whom others are descended. Those persons who have so descended are called branches. Now follow what I'm going to do right now, right? This is your stock. So they want to know what stock are you made of. So other stocks, other people in other nations and places that were conquered were not particularly as profitable as the American stock, right? And the stock is based off of what? Your bloodline. So they know they carefully selected specific people that they had to control and subjugate in order to run the free world as we know it now, whether you like it or not, right? And that's really just the fucking truth. So stock is about your descendants. Who do you come from? Who is your mama? Who your mama is. Remember in the movie Juice, right? When Q went to get the gun to protect himself against Bishop, and he was like, he went to go see Sweets, and as soon as he saw Sweets, what she asked him, "Aren't you Lorraine's son?" Right? They want to know what stock you come from before maybe considering something, right? So if the persons who have so descended are called branches, I want to look up the word stock in the Webster's dictionary now. That was the legal definition. Now I want to tell you what stock is according to the regular dictionary. Stock, a stem, a staff, a stick, a block. Now you see how the legal dictionary told you it's a branch, and this is where it comes into your family tree. So this is why I'm going to tell you, fuck all that DNA hogwash shit, because the law say you're supposed to have your descendants, right? And DNA can't do that. DNA just puts you in a fucking area. It don't put you in your grandmama in the backyard, right? So the stem or main body of a tree or other plant, the fixed, strong, firm part, the origin and support of the branches. So you see in this instance where the regular shit does not interfere or corrupt with the legal, lawful definition of it is. So this is why you have to have your family tree. It's about who you come from. Everybody has to know. You have to announce this shit, right? You see they big on immigration. They've been doing the same shit since before. Because they didn't want other people from other nations coming over here wanting none of the shit that they got. Because they wanted to keep it all away from us and keep it from themselves. So now it says the stem in which a graft is inserted and which is its support. So the dictionary right now is basically telling us how we fucked up. And that's also going to be indicative of how us not respecting our ancestors, right? And our grandparents. And we not listening to what they told us to do. We're not listening to their instruction. We didn't listen to their correction. And this is what happened, right? So stock is also a person very stupid, dull, and senseless. And the reason why they say that, and it has that dual meaning, because we didn't respect our stock. We gave away who our folks are. We traded, we swapped. We swapped with these motherfuckers. We didn't do nothing about it. And, we suffer as a result of that. So now I just wanted to give you what the Webster dictionary is about stock, because again it went back to the family tree. So let me go, I'm going to stay right there in Webster, and now it's still, again, it was talking about the family tree, and I'm going to flip-flop from the Webster dictionary to the legal dictionary so you can have an understanding why your DNA is bullshit, right? That's why the DNA is bullshit, because it ain't going to stand. And again, stock. I went back to that word stock, and I told you what the word stock means, and I gave you the legal definition of what stock is. So genealogy, Latin for genealogia, Greek, race and discourse, England, kind, right? Your kind. 1. An account or history of the descent of a person or family from an ancestor. Enumeration. What did they do to our folks? Didn't they enumerate them on the census? They enumerated them. Enumeration of ancestors and their children in the natural order of succession, your pedigree, your lineage, regular descent of a person or family from a progenitor. Now that is the Webster definition. Now I'm going to tell you why it's pertinent in the law. Okay? Genealogy. The summary history or table of a house or family, showing how the persons there named are connected together. It is founded on the idea of a lineage or family. Persons descended from the common father constitute of a family. Under the idea of degrees is noted the nearness or remoteness of a relationship in which one person stands with respect to another. A series of several persons descended from a common progenitor is called a line. Children stand to each other in the relation either of full blood or half blood, according as they are descended from the same parents or have only one parent in common. For illustrating descent and relationship, genealogical tables are constructed, the order of which depends on the end in view. In tables, the object of which is to show all individuals embraced in a family, it is usual to begin with the oldest progenitor and put all the persons of the male or female sex in descending and then in collateral lines. Other tables exhibit the ancestors of a particular person in ascending lines, both on the father's and the mother's side. In this way, 4, 6, 8, 16, 32 ancestors are exhibited, doubling at every degree. Some tables are constructed in the form of a tree, after the model of canonical law. Arbor consanguinitatis. Say that 5 times fast. And I'm going to look that word up because I want y'all to get familiar with that. So I'm going to tell you, your DNA bullshit, you got to go through this. Now again, that's going to be arbor consanguinitatis, in which the progenitor is placed beneath as if it for the root or stem. Vida branch, that is your line. Vida branch, your lifeline. Right? Your family tree. Right? So now, that's what your genealogy says. So now you have the legal meaning, and you also have the regular meaning. And now I'm going to go to arbor consanguinis, tatus, blah, 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 whatever. For the root or stem, the persons descended from him are represented by branches, one for each descendant. For example, if it be desired to form the genealogical tree of Peter's family, Peter will be made the trunk of the tree. If he has 2 sons, John and James, their names will be written on the first 2 branches, which will themselves shoot as many twigs as John and James have children. These will produce others, till the whole family shall be represented on the tree. Your family tree is way more important than what your DNA will ever promise to do. And if nothing else, we have to be very thankful that these motherfuckers documented us. However, which way they did it, we got to be thankful for some shit. Now, arbor dum crescit lignum cum crescere nescit, right? And that's Latin for a tree while it grows wood when it cannot grow. So your family tree is meant to expand and grow and be watered and nurtured and paid attention to and cared for and manicured. If you don't do that, it's only going to be wood for the fire. That's it. So, contracts, chattel, charges, stocks, slaves, arbor consanguinitatis, You know, these are the things that you want to pay attention to. Those legal maxims and all that good stuff and all that. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Y'all so wonderful. Y'all coquet beloveds. I'm going to let y'all go. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Peace and love. Y'all coquet.